strategies everywhere from £50 a week up to £100 million, and they're different. They range differently from everyone, but and from country to country, to be fair. Different countries have different tax laws, so with different vehicles. But from your point of view, at the sort of normal end, I'm not going to call it the low end because I'm in that boat as well. It's as tax efficient as you can get it. That's where you start. You use all the tax efficiencies and then you step up into different things.
Welcome back to the show. It's your girl Sarah right here on Relaks Radio. Now I'm super excited that you could be here tuning into the show, listening into whatever it is that we're talking about, because I'm very excited to be here and share my thoughts and opinions with you while I get to hear yours as well, because that's the whole purpose of Relaks Radio. Now, while I'm here to share my thoughts and my opinions with regard to the very latest that is happening here in the United Kingdom, obviously I want to hear your thoughts and opinions as well. So don't forget to actually get in touch with me. You can text me on 07852473473. Get in touch with me, share your thoughts, share your opinions with me, because obviously I would love to hear what you have to say, right, with regard to this traffic light trouble system, how complex it is, the criticism that the government has received because of it. Please do get in touch with me and share it with me, because I would love to hear what you are saying. All right. Now, something else that you can do, something else that we can talk about, obviously, is what exactly is this? How exactly does it work? Now, I know you have a lot of questions with regard to it, so we'll be answering all of your questions right here. And all you need to do is just listen in, right? And while you're at it, you can actually go follow us on our socials as well. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And make sure that you're always updated and informed about the very latest in terms of, the change that we're having, in terms of how we're actually moving forward. All right. So don't forget to do that. Don't forget to share your thoughts and opinions with me, because like I said, we have a lot to be talking about. All right. So right now, let's actually head back into a conversation. And I also want to very quickly remind you that you can go download an app and be a part of the show. That's all you need to do. Just download an app which is available on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. Make sure you tune in and make sure you're listening in from anywhere in the world at any time of the day. Don't forget to do that. All right. Now let's actually head back into our conversation, because I want to tell you about, this traffic light system. What exactly is this traffic light system? Now, it was introduced across the UK from May, and this system actually includes a green, amber, and red list of countries, with each color basically meaning different rules around testing and quarantining. All right, which is basically, it's the basic of it. That's pretty much what it simply is, right? Different zones, different colors means that it has different quarantining rules and it has different testing rules as well. Now, Transport Secretary Grant Shapps actually introduced the new system by saying, we want a summer in which we can finally reunite with our families and our friends, where we can travel to places that we love, and we want to start looking outward again, right? Because that is something that we have all missed in the past few months, especially with COVID, especially with all of the changes that were taking place. Something that we have all missed, obviously, is going and traveling all around the world. Okay, so that is what we want. That is what that is what anyone wants. So that's why this traffic light travel system was in fact introduced. Now, he also said that these lists were actually put in place so we can travel without having to look over our shoulder and worry about what exactly is going to happen. Right now, the lists and the first updates, however, were in fact much more cautious than we actually expected them to be, right? Which I think is with fair reason, because even though we have one of the best vaccination drives in the world, even though we're vaccinating at quite a fast amount and whatnot, it's still not necessarily the most safe time to be going out or going on trips and traveling between countries, right? So obviously that's what obviously that's what we are talking about, right? And that's why these things were actually much more cautious than we expected them to be, because of how we had to actually change the rules and whatnot. Okay, so in terms of the rules, here's what actually the rules for each traffic light color are, and what exactly you need to keep in mind. Now, for example, if we're taking green, Green actually requires one pre-departure test up to 72 hours before returning to the United Kingdom. All right, and then you have to take one more PCR test on or before day 2 of arrival in the United Kingdom, and you don't really have to quarantine unless a test is positive. All right, now countries with low cases and deaths and high vaccination rates and low numbers of variants of concern have actually been given the green light. Okay, so it's worth remembering that other countries travel policies actually differ very much from us. So even if our government says, look, it's okay, you can actually go to these countries and you can actually, enjoy yourself, that might not necessarily be the case for us, because they might not allow people from the United Kingdom into their country, right? Because these countries are different, they have their own restrictions, they have their own bans. So it's important to keep that in mind before you actually, go on that trip and try to get into that country. All right, now that is one thing you need to keep in mind. Now, something else you need to keep in mind is that these countries may also have their own testing requirements upon arrival. And although some have said that they plan to waive off quarantine for fully vaccinated travelers, there might actually be other differences. So make sure to keep that in mind, because right now we're going to head into a small break. And after that, we will be back to keep talking more about this. But until then, make sure you stay tuned.
Again. But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, you've had one to forget, God, there'd be an inquest. Why did you reject my son? Well, I haven't rejected your son.
I want to talk about, how the generation gap, how much has changed, especially when you check the youth nowadays in comparison, to people back in the day.
I'd say when I was younger, it was more disciplined. Not now.
In comparison to now.
Not at all. Not now. The way things are nowadays, the younger generation, you seem that they can't accept the word no, if that makes sense.
They can't accept rejection, essentially, is all you're trying to say.
Yeah, they can't accept the word no. So if you, how did I do? Or you didn't do very well, and they get upset, And when I was a youngster, my father used to say to me, because I used to be sport mad when I was very young. Well, I still am sport mad, but like participating in different sports. And if I had a bad game, for example, he might say to me, you had one to forget. That's it.
Your dad sounds like a smart guy. I mean, yeah, that's the real fact of the matter, yeah.
He said to me, you had one to forget. Get over it. And that was it. So I dust myself down and do it again. But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, you've had one to forget, God, there'd be an inquest. Why did you reject my son? Oh, I haven't rejected your son. Or daughter. I've just told them that they need to buck their ideas up.
That's the truth right there. I mean, if you think about it, if you check the generations, like right now in the US as well, I've seen a lot of these things as well. In the UK, you get medals for participation. But what's the point? What are you trying to? Yeah, what's the point? Either you win or you lose. People are so afraid to put that whole notion of losing. When it comes to right now, the generation gap is just crazy. How much a lot has changed. Social media has taken control of our lives, and we don't even realize it anymore. We're crippled because of it.
That's absolutely right, Nick. Because, as you said, nowadays it seems that you get rewarded for failure. For the life of me, Nick, I can't get my head around that. Perhaps I'm just getting old and morbid. I don't know. I just can't get my head around how you could be rewarded for failure.
Welcome back to the show. It's your girl Sarah right here on the Sunrise, and I'm here to keep you company all the way until 9 a.m. But from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., Hipa will be here and we'll be talking about a lot of interesting things as well. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you share your thoughts and your opinions, because I would love to hear what you have to say. All right. Now, the number to text is 078-5247-3473. Get in touch with me, share your thoughts with me, share your opinions with me, because I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know what you're feeling, and I want to know what you exactly think about what is going on here in the United Kingdom with regard to the changes in the traffic light travel system. So don't forget to do that. Don't forget to actually, don't forget to be a part of this conversation and share your thoughts and opinions with me. Now, while you're at it, something else that you can actually do is to make sure that you're always informed and updated by actually what you have to do actually is to go follow us on our socials. Now, if you go like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, you can actually be a part of the show. You can share your thoughts and opinions with us, and also you can always be updated about whatever it is that we're going to be talking about, because we talk about everything from science to sports to technology to health, whatever it is that you want to know. We talk about pretty much everything, all right? So make sure you stay tuned, make sure you share your thoughts and opinions with me, because I would love to hear whatever it is that you have to say. All right. So don't forget to do that. Now, I want to very quickly remind you that you can, in fact, go download our app, which is available on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store as well. That way, you can actually make sure that you're always informed and you're always updated about whatever it is that we're talking about. And you're also joining in the conversation live. So that's a pretty amazing opportunity. Don't forget to do that. All right. Now, I want to very quickly, or rather, I want to very quickly get back into the conversation, because we need to still talk about the amber list, and we still need to talk about the red list. Okay. Now, in the amber list, as mentioned, as basically mentioned from this 19th of July, that was, about 2 weeks ago, with regard to how exactly, travel restrictions were eased and whatnot. UK residents and citizens who are fully vaccinated or under 18 do not actually have to isolate when they're traveling back from an amber list country. All right. Now, these following rules still actually apply to anyone who's over 18 and who is not double vaccinated. Okay, so one pre-departure test is required, and you need to quarantine at home for 10 days on arrival in the UK. Now, something else that you need to keep in mind is that a PCR test is required on days 2 and 8 of quarantine. That is reduced by day 5 by paying for the cost. Which can actually be reduced to day 5 rather, by paying the rest of the cost for an extra test on that day if it's negative, although that's not necessarily an option here in Northern Ireland, right? That's not an option that is there in Northern Ireland. All right, so remember to keep that in mind when you are remember to keep that in mind when you are considering that. All right. Now, something else that you obviously need to keep in mind is which countries are actually considered a part of the amber list. Now, amber countries actually include mainland Spain, Greece, and France, and more than 100 other countries, with a lot in Europe. All right. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be reading out the entire list to you because it's a pretty long list. However, you can go and look it up on the internet, because that is where all information is available. So don't forget to do that. And we also need to talk a little bit about the red list, which is basically countries that are considered to be dealing with the pandemic in the worst way possible. All right. Now, these countries, you're actually required one pre-departure test, and on arrival, passengers actually have to quarantine in a hotel for 10 days at a cost of £2,285 per person. All right. So if you're going to take all of those 10 days in the, you're going to quarantine all of those 10 days, you actually have to make sure that you stay in a hotel that is recommended by the government, right? Because the government has they've basically come into contract with a lot of other hotels that are actually willing to they've basically come into a contract with a lot of hotels that are willing to provide quarantine, but you have to obviously pay them, right? And for you to pay them, you actually have to make sure that you travel into specific countries that are considered green list or considered amber list, so that way you don't actually have to spend a lot of money and you don't have to think about quarantining. However, you have to be fully vaccinated to do that. So like I said, for you to, if you're in a red country, if you are in say if you're traveling to a country that is in the red list, or you're traveling back from a country that is in the red list, you have to make sure that you have a PCR test, because on days 2 and 8 of quarantine, you're actually required to get a PCR test, right? And that's in fact included in the quarantine hotel package as well. And passengers must book and agree to pay for a quarantine package before departing for the United Kingdom. All right. Now, that is this agreement that exists where you have to necessarily say, look, I will do it. If not, you can actually possibly be kicked out. All right. And then you also have you have there are actually 60 red list countries in total, with Cuba, Indonesia, Myanmar, and even Sierra Leone. All right, and those were the recently added ones, but obviously there is Brazil, the Maldives, South Africa, and India as well on that list. All right, so make sure you stay tuned, because right now we're going to head into a small break, and after that we will be back to keep talking more about this. But until then, make sure you stay tuned, because we're going to head into a small break now.
Valuations that you place on an asset are always behind you. It's always in hindsight. It's never in front of you. And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always valuing what happened yesterday. And what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. What am I saving or investing for? Why am I doing it? When will I need the money? And how much money do I need? Yeah. So that's quite important, because when you're looking at your net worth, you got to start and say, well, what do I want my net worth to be, so that there's a goal, and then work backwards. How do I get there? And if I can start with £50 or $50 a week, if I save that every week, and you can go online and use calculators online. I don't have